Welcome one, welcome all to Max's Mike. I'm Max and I have the mic. Today's episode is all about the 2024 NFL Draft. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. We're going to be going through the first 32 picks, 1 through 32, the first round. I'm going to talk about my opinion on each pick. And then, because there's a lot of picks and it's going to take a while, I'm just going to proceed to check out the great Mel Keiper's draft grades. And I feel that that'll be a quicker way to sum up the rest of the draft. So I'm going to go through his picks, what grades he gave each team, what grade I would give each team, whether I do agree, disagree, and why. And we'll go from there. So starting off, Chicago Bears had the first pick, and they took Caleb Williams. I feel like it's a good pick. I feel like last season was a little iffy about him, but I still feel he can go out and dominate, and he deserved to be the first overall pick. Kind of obvious. Pick number 2 was a toss-up between Jaden Daniels and Drake May. It went to Jaden Daniels, and I feel that as we got closer to the draft, Jaden Daniels' draft stock really went up. Could be people are already comparing him to possibly another RG3 or a Lamar. I fear that future injuries could happen, in which he's taken a lot of hits in college, and if he continues to take those hits at the higher level, he can get injured. However, he's going to be another elite quarterback. I feel that almost every quarterback has elite potential. Some have good potential, but I feel in this first round, a lot of these quarterbacks have potential to be elite. However, they've got to go out and do the job, and they need help around them. And I feel like pick number 3 is a player that's going to need that help, and that's Drake May, taken by the New England Patriots. Patriots took Mac Jones a few years ago, and they didn't really help him out that much, and he hasn't really succeeded. So now they've got Drake May, and they need to do it better. He could be a franchise quarterback, but he's got to be coached, can't let the rot, and he's on the younger side and a little inexperienced. 4th pick, the Cardinals took Marvin Harrison Jr. He's him. That's all I have to say about that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be phenomenal. He's going to be great. And he's on this Cardinals team that needs some help wide receiver wise. So it's a perfect fit. I think he's going to go do his thing. Next, we've got Joe Alt, taken by the Chargers at the 5th pick. Chargers needed to upgrade this O-line. They need to help Herbert out, and upgrading the O-line is going to do that, especially because the wide receivers are a question, and the running back isn't as good as what it was in Austin Eckler last year. So upgrading this O-line will definitely help, even though many believe that they should have tried to get a wide receiver. I feel that O-line is going to help more than wide receiver, especially at this spot with Joe Alt available. Next, the 6th pick, the New York Giants took wide receiver Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones is a great tool, and this pick proved that the Giants are going to give Daniel Jones another year because they did just sign him to a 4-year contract. So it'd kind of be a waste to sign him, have him get injured the first year, and then give up on him. So they're going to give him a shot. They're giving him Malik Neighbors, a really good wide receiver. Neighbors and Marvin Harrison, I feel like, are the top 2 and kind of distance themselves from the rest of this wide receiver class, although this is a really strong wide receiver class and there's more to come. But I feel those 2 are really the top 2, and the Giants got one of them. They're going to upgrade this offense, and they're going to, again, give Daniel Jones the weapons that he needs to go and succeed, and they're going to put it in Daniel Jones' hands to see what he does. Next, with the 7th pick, Titans took J.C. Latham. Solid pick, help for Will Levis. Give him more of an opportunity to succeed, as well as just assist this offense that has lost Derrick Henry. And there's a lot of question marks, but again, the O-line really helps because it gives the rest of the players on this offense the opportunity to succeed. If you have a bad O-line, you can't really judge the running backs. You can't really judge the quarterback. You can't really even judge the wide receivers because the quarterback doesn't have time to do anything. The receivers aren't getting good passes because the quarterback doesn't have a lot of time. And the running back isn't going to have the ability to go and do something if he's constantly swarmed before the line of scrimmage. So a good O-line gives the rest of the players on offense the ability to succeed, and the Titans are upgrading their O-line. Now we've got the 8th pick, and a pick that is going to be talked about for years to come is Michael Penix Jr. to the Falcons. Really confusing pick. Don't know why the Falcons took Michael Penix Jr. there. Maybe he was their guy, but I don't feel he was going to go that high. I don't know what exactly they were doing there. A really questionable pick after just getting Kirk Cousins. I feel like they could have easily waited a year or two if they could have easily waited a year or two and then gotten a slightly younger quarterback who wouldn't have just sat 2 years behind Kirk Cousins and who could possibly have a lot more upside than Michael Penix Jr. He's got a great arm and a great sense of the field. However, injuries are going to be an issue. And he's had his fair share of injury problems. So we'll see what happens. But questionable, really questionable pick. I feel that Dallas Turner would have been a better pick here, a better fit for this Falcons team. But we'll see how things play out. Next, we've got the 9 pick, Romo Dunze, getting Caleb Williams, another weapon. Really just maximizing this offense. Odunze is going to be a good receiver, has the potential to do that. He's not going to burn you, but he's a big guy. I feel that he is just like a faster tight end. He's got a big build, and using him, I feel, on shorter routes and not just that toss-up deep route, having a guy that can kind of has the agility to move, but then the athleticism and the size to moss a defender and get up and get the ball is a great fit for this Bears offense. Now we've got the 10th pick, and the Minnesota Vikings traded up to take J.J. McCarthy. They traded 1 pick with the Jets. They swapped picks as well as the Jets got a few picks later in this draft. Don't understand why the Vikings were trading up for J.J. McCarthy. Knowing that the Jets were very highly likely to not take a quarterback, especially J.J. McCarthy in that spot. So trading up for him made no sense. And the Jets at the 11 took Olawanu Fashanu. And if you watch the Pat McAfee show, you would have seen Rodgers come on and talk about how Fashanu was the Jets guy, and that's the guy the Jets wanted. So the Vikings trading up there is a little questionable, but they got J.J. McCarthy, who I feel maybe not that high, shouldn't have been taken that high, but he was. He's going to be a great quarterback. I feel that he's going to be kind of like a Kirk Cousins, in which great arm, great sense, but not that mobile. I feel like J.J. McCarthy is going to be mobile than Kirk Cousins ever was, but not as mobile as a Mahomes, Lamar kind of guy. J.J. McCarthy's got a solid arm and some pretty good accuracy, but not the consistency. I feel the big question mark is how good is J.J. McCarthy going to be? Is the draft stock too high on him? I'm still hung up on that Penn State game this past year when J.J. McCarthy threw 16 passes in the Michigan win. Stats like that are baffling, that your quarterback in a pass-heavy football atmosphere, barely threw the ball, and the team didn't trust him to do that is questionable. It's also concerning that almost all of the offensive production came through the run game throughout this entire season and last season for Michigan. It's concerning, but we'll see what happens. Again, back now to the Jets pick, Oluwanu Fashanu. I feel that's a great pick. Go out, help Rodgers. You've got Rodgers. You've got offensive wide receiver weapons, running back weapons. Now the last bit of that offense is upgrading the O-line, which needs a lot of help. So they did that. Next, the Broncos took Bo Nix. Again, I feel like he's a reach. I feel that every quarterback taken outside of the top three were reaches. I feel Penix was a major reach. McCarthy was a kind of reach. Bo Nix was a definite reach. I feel like Nix and Penix. I mean, I feel the Falcons could have waited and taken Penix in the second round. And same with Bo Nix. And I feel like J.J. McCarthy could have easily dropped to that 17th pick with the Vikings. But Bo Nix is taken here. I feel like he's going to be a solid quarterback. I feel that he can compete in the NFL. I just don't know if his ability is going to make a major difference for this Broncos offense. I feel that they need a lot of pieces. But he's a solid quarterback, and he's going to be one of those middle-of-the-pack quarterbacks, I feel, in the future. I feel that his first season, if he's the starting quarterback, next season he's gonna struggle a bit. But I feel like he can get better. We'll just have to see. Next, Raiders, 13th pick, took Brock Bowers. Great tight end, best player available. Don't know if he was the best player for the Raiders. But he's the best player available. The Raiders already have a great young tight end. Another one. You're going to run two tight end offense. Maybe that's what they're planning on doing. Brock Bowers is a good receiving tight end. Maybe they use him as more of the receiving guy. We'll see. The Saints, they upgrade their O-line with Fuaga. Good pick. Solid O-line. And this Saints team needs that help on the O-line. The Colts taking Laiatu Latu. Great edge rusher. And again, another guy in this draft where health is going to be a question. But we'll see what happens. The Seahawks, they go and they get Byron Murphy, D tackle, out of Texas. A really good player. Great with the pass rush, where this Seahawks team needs a little help with. And a big improvement just overall for this defense. Now we've got that 17th pick where I thought J.J. McCarthy could have fallen to. We'll never know. However, the Vikings make a great pick with that one, taking Dallas Turner, who managed to fall to them. How that happened, nobody knows. But the fact that it did is a great pick by them to get him. Really strong edge rusher who is just going to tear up this league, I feel. Maybe not the first season. Again, rookie, new. NFL's very different, more physical and rougher and faster than college football. So we'll see how he does, but I feel second, third season, he's going to start tearing this league up. Next, the Bengals take Amarius Mims, offensive tackle. Burrow showing signs of possible injuries to legs that could linger in the future. He had a lot of injuries last year, took a lot of big hits last year, so upgrading this O-line is needed and important and was something that the Bengals needed to address, and they did. 19th pick, the Rams, they take Jared Verse, edge rusher. Jared Verse, a really good edge rusher. Watching some of his tapes in the ACC championship against Louisville. Really good edge rusher. Could be that next Aaron Donald. He's got big shoes to fill, but Aaron Donald retiring left a hole and a opportunity, and Verse could be that guy to fill it. The Steelers taking Troy Fautanu, And a Washington, a great O-line. They need O-line help. They've got Fields and Russell Wilson, so giving them O-line help will allow the Steelers to be able to review, be able to better assess their quarterbacks and see which one should be the starter and which one it might be time to hang up the shoes, lace up, and hang up the cleats. The Dolphins, they get Chop Robinson. Chop is a strong edge rusher. However, at Penn State, didn't really get too many sacks, which will be something to take note of. However, he did get a lot of tackles and a good amount of tackles for a loss. So his ability to execute at the NFL level will be under question a little bit. However, a really good edge rusher, a really quick, agile moving, which has allowed him to make a lot of those tackles. However, his power side, I feel, it's a little questionable. His ability to get to the quarterback, we'll have to see what he can do at the NFL level. But still a solid pick. Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, taken by the Eagles with the 22nd pick. This Eagles defense is starting to look scary, especially when they we'll talk about this a little more later, but they got Cooper DeJean as well. This Eagles defense and this Eagles team in general is scary. The Eagles are looking to win now because in the future, they're not going to have too much money. In the future, in 4 or 5 years, the Eagles are going to be paying A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and a large majority of this offense. They're going to have to pay even when they're not even playing on the Eagles anymore. So they've got cap, they've got the space to do something now and go out and get players now. But in the future, it's going to be a little shaky. But Quinion Mitchell's going to help them now, and so they went and got him. Next, the Jaguars. They took Brian Thomas Jr., a wide receiver at LSU. He's a good wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, but I feel that guys like Xavier Legette and Keon Coleman were better options. So the Jaguars must really like Brian Thomas Jr. to take him here with Keon Coleman and Xavier Legette available. I feel that they're just better. So we'll see what happens. Detroit Lions, they trade up with the Cowboys, and they get Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Bama. Really good cornerback, and this was a really good move by the Lions. The Lions had a really good pass rush and a really strong run defense. However, they had one of the worst secondaries in the league that just got torched last year. It was the major reason to their losses was, for the most part, that secondary just getting torched the entire game. So getting a cornerback, getting Terrion Arnold is a big upgrade that was needed. Next, the Packers, they take Jordan Morgan, another guy that I'm a little questionable about. Not my first choice in the spot, but solid pick. Again, upgrading the O-line. Feel that a lot of offensive linemen in this league are starting to get old. So investing in some younger guys to bolster this offense that consists of Jordan Love, a not so experienced quarterback, getting thrown in as the starter, getting an offensive lineman, getting Jordan Morgan will or should hopefully help if he's able to play up to expectations. Next, the Buccaneers, they get Graham Barton. All I could say is that he's just a solid center, and again, will be a good offensive lineman. Cardinals, they come back up again with the 27th pick. They get a defensive end, Darius Robinson. They needed some help, especially against the run. This defense needs help. So Robinson is great against the run, a perfect fit for the Cardinals. Now the Chiefs, in a shocking move, trade up with the Buffalo Bills to get the fastest wide receiver in the draft and possibly a man who could be the fastest wide receiver in the league, and Xavier Worthy. Now, his hands and his ability to catch the ball, a little questionable. However, he is just a taller version of Tyreek Hill. So this Chiefs offense is going to be as scary as always, and this Chiefs team just got so much better with him. The Cowboys, they went and got Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle. So after signing a few guys, they go and they draft another guy. So interesting decision, interesting move, and we'll see how that works out. With the 30th pick, the Ravens, they take Nate Wiggins. Again, Ravens, another team that needs some helps in the secondary, so he will be a great fit. The Niners, they take Ricky Pearsall. Again, just like the Jaguars pick earlier with Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman and Xavier Legette, I feel like, are going to be better. So the Niners would really like Pearsall if they're taking him here. And then Xavier Legette gets picked. The Panthers, they trade in. So the Bills, they trade back with the Chiefs to the 32nd. The Bills then trade out of the first round altogether. And they end up with the first pick in the second round. And the Panthers trade into the first round to get Xavier Legette, getting some upgrades for this offense, this receiving team that's really just been terrible. Getting some help for Bryce Young and getting him an actual good receiver and not some older, washed, doesn't really belong in the NFL guys. He's good. So Bryce Young getting some help that he's needed. Confused what the Bills are doing is it's not like they really got much out of these picks. They got like 6th, 7th, maybe 5th round picks. They really didn't get much out of these trades. They did get Keon Coleman, though, so they traded all the way back just to get him, which I feel like it's a good pick. So I guess if they knew that their guy was going to drop that far, so they just decided to trade back, and he was their guy all along, I guess it works out. But I'm a little confused what was going on there when they really didn't get too much. So now we're going to move on to Mel Keiper's picks and his draft grades. So he started with the NFC North. We're starting with the Bears. Give the Bears a B. Bears, they got Caleb Williams, Romo Dunze. They did take a punter in Torrey Taylor, and then Austin Booker, an edge rusher, the 5th pick, and an offensive tackle, the 3rd. So I agree. I also gave him a B. I agree with Mel Kiper that this was just a great draft. I feel that maybe the punter at the 4th round quite a bit early. However, I don't really feel like the Bears could have done this differently. I don't really feel that as a Bears fan, you'd want them to do this over. I feel that there wasn't much different they could have played this. So an all-around, just a good draft. Just an all-around good draft for the Chicago Bears. They're making a difference. They're going out and doing something. And Bears fans should be excited. Next, we got the Detroit Lions. Mel Kiper gave them a B, and I agree. I also will give them a B. Again, Terrion Arnold. They also got Rakestraw Jr., Ennis Rakestraw Jr. in the 2nd round, another cornerback, upgrading this defensive back that these DBs, upgrading their secondary, that needs help. They got an offensive lineman in Giovanni Manu. They took Sion Vaki, running back, in the 4th. Interested with that pick since they've got David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, a 2 running back system. And they took another running back. It's a little interesting. And there's definitely a bunch of free agent running backs available that can easily fit that 3rd running back spot as your emergency guy in case one of your top guys get injured. They also get Wingo and a D tackle out of LSU. Just bringing in some young guys on this defensive line, and then a guard. So just an all-around solid draft. Solid B. The Packers next. Mel Keiper give them a B. I feel that the Packers are more. I'll put them down to a B minus. Simply because I just don't know really what they're doing. They took 3 safeties. They drafted 2 linebackers. They also got another cornerback, so that's 4 secondary guys. They did get an offensive tackle and just a generic offensive lineman and then a center. So they had a lot of picks. They took a lot of guys. Intrigued to see how they will fit into this Packers lineup. The Packers just trying to make their lineup younger, it seems, by bringing in a bunch of, they had 11 picks, quite a bit of picks. So I drop them down to a B minus just because they've got a lot of guys. I don't know how impactful they're going to be. They addressed some needs. I feel their biggest need was defensive line, and they didn't really cover that here. But we'll see how it goes. I feel that also maybe the wide receiver room could have needed a little bit of assistance. And they didn't help that either. But we'll see how things go. Next, we've got the Minnesota Vikings, the last team in the NFC North. I was really intrigued to see that Mel Keiper gave them a C+. I decided to go with the B-, slight upgrade. Some cases of concern. I'm a little confused about, again, is the trading up for J.J. McCarthy. A little questionable, but otherwise, I feel that this was a really good draft. I feel that they covered all the boxes, dotted their I's, crossed their T's, and I feel they did a good job. I don't understand the C+. I feel that B-. I feel that they went out and they got their guy in J.J. McCarthy. They got some assistance with Dallas Turner on the edge rush against the run game and just getting the quarterback, applying pressure. Kyrie Jackson, a really good cornerback taken in the 4th round. I feel that he can make some change on this defense. So we'll see what happens. Again, we've got to see how these guys play. You could be the first overall pick or the last pick. Again, Brock Purdy, one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now, and he was the very last pick. Now, moving on to the NFC East with the Eagles. Mel Kiper gave them an A. I agree with the A. They got Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, 2 phenomenal cornerbacks. I feel that they're not top 2, but I feel they're like the 2nd and 3rd best cornerbacks in this draft. So the fact that they both went to the Eagles is not okay. Then they got Hunt, an edge rusher. Solid edge rusher just to help, again, make this defensive line a little bit younger as this defensive line is getting old, moving on to other teams are retiring. They got just some great guys. 2 more receivers in Johnny Wilson, and then they got Smith from Texas A&M. So intrigued to see how they're going to fit into this offense. But otherwise, really good. Got Trevor Keegan from Michigan, a great offensive lineman. Just a really good draft all around. Just a really good draft for the Eagles. Next was the Commanders, and Mel Kiper gave them a grading of an A-. And I feel that they should be bumped up to an A. Looking at their needs, they needed a quarterback, offensive line, quarterback, cornerback, wide receiver, and offensive line help. They went out and pretty much covered all of that. They got Jaden Daniels, there's your quarterback. Mikey Sainristil, a cornerback out of Michigan, really good cornerback who's going to make some big moves and big changes on this team. He is a guy that I feel is really going to succeed in the NFL. They got some O-line assistants, Brandon Coleman, a guard, and then they went and they got Luke McCaffrey at a Rice, wide receiver. So they covered everything they needed. They got some help all around. And as a Giants fan, I'm a little nervous right now looking at some of these guys. I got a feeling I'm going to hear and be devastated by multiple picks by Mikey Sainer still. Hearing about Jaden Daniels running it up, Luke McCaffrey. So as a Giants fan, I'm nervous because his Commanders and Eagles teams are scary. Now moving on to my team, the Giants. Mel Keiper Jr. gave him a B. I agree with the B. Malik Neighbors, Newbin, the safety out of Minnesota, Phillips, Andrew Phillips, cornerback, getting T.O. Johnson, a tight end, Tyrone Tracy Jr., a solid, not solid, a decent running back who we'll see, but no more Saquon, so we've got to figure out the next guy. And then they just got a linebacker right at the end, just to bring in some younger guys. So I agree. I like the B. Next, finally, the last team in the NFC East, Cowboys. Mel Kiper gave them a B minus. I went with the C plus, simply because the Cowboys made some interesting picks. I feel like their first pick, they need help O-line, but then again, they went out and got a bunch of O-line guys. So I don't know if your first round pick, you want to spend it on that. They need a running back, and they didn't get one, which is also another concern of mine. They did get an offensive tackle, but late in this draft, and they needed some help. I feel wide receiver wise. They got one guy, Southeast Missouri State, and Ryan Flournoy, but I feel like the Cowboys could have done things a little different, done things a bit better. Let's move on to the NFC South. The Saints, I agree with Mel Kiper's B. All these B picks, there's going to be a lot of them. I feel that they just did things right. I feel like they just made the right moves. The Buccaneers, Mel Kiper gave them a B. I just dropped them down to a B minus just because I'm a little nervous with the whole, are you planning for now? Are you planning for the future? Are you that confident that everyone around you in your division isn't going to really get that much better? A little intrigued. They got Jalen McMillan, which is a great pick out of Washington, a wide receiver in the third round. He's going to really turn it up. But otherwise, I just feel like it's a low-key kind of draft. They didn't really go big or go crazy. Panthers, I agree with Mel Kiper's B minus, and the Falcons, he gave them a C. I'm going to drop them down to a C minus. Again, it's primarily over that Michael Penix Jr. pick. No offense to him. I feel that he's going to be able to succeed, but I just don't feel like Penix to the Falcons gives either side, Penix or the Falcons, the best opportunity to succeed. In the NFC West, the Cardinals, I agree with Mel Kiper's A. The Arizona Cardinals just tore up this draft. They did a really good job. Marvin Harrison Jr., Darius Robinson, Max Melton, Trey Benson, a running back, Isaiah Adams, the guard. They had a bunch of picks. They used them, and I feel that they made the best decisions. They took the best guys that fit them and fit their needs at the right time. The Rams, Mel Kiper gave them a B+. I'm going with an A-. I'm going with an A- for the Rams. Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk, Blake Corum, my guy. Really like Blake Corum. I feel like undersized running back that's just going to take the league by surprise. I just really, really like the picks that were made by this Rams team. The Seahawks, Mel Kiper gave them a B-. I went with the B for the Seahawks. I just feel that he was a little critical in his comments. I feel that the Seahawks, again, were that middle line. They took some good picks. They did what they had to do to fill the jobs, to dot the I's and cross their T's and fill some holes that they had on this team. Finally, the 49ers, I agree with Mel Kiper's B-. Kind of sitting close to C+, but I decided to stick with the B-. My reasoning is that Ricky Pearsall pick with the 31st pick in the draft, and then getting Jacob Cowning in the 4th, another wide receiver. I just feel that with that first pick, there were some better guys. I feel that with the 4th round pick, the 135th pick in the draft, that they could have taken someone that wasn't a wide receiver. I know that it kind of is one of their needs, but I also just feel like it isn't. I just feel that this offense is really good. In bolstering the defense is a better route that I feel should have been assessed more with some of the earlier picks and even that 4th round pick. But we'll see how things play out. Now I'll move to the AFC. The Bills, they got the B. I only drop them to a B- just again because of those second round trades, or the first round trades that led to a second round pick. Dolphins, I agree with Mel Kiper's B. The Jets, Mel Kiper gave them a B. I bumped the Jets up to a B+, simply because I really like the move that they made with Fashanu. I also like just the way that they went about drafting, taking Malachi Corley, just getting another wide receiver to help Rodgers out. I just feel that they did it all around just a good job with this draft. Next, we got the Patriots with a B, and I agree. Again, just they're a B team. They did what they had to do. They dotted their I's, crossed their T's, filled the holes that were in question, and they didn't trust the guys that were there, so they went out and they got some new guys. Moving on to the AFC West, the Chargers. I agree with Mel Kiper's B+. Great draft. Harbaugh did a great job. Got some of his Michigan guys. Next, we got the Chiefs with the B+. Again, I talked about that Xavier Worthy trading up and getting him. It's just a really good move. This Chiefs team needs some help with the offense of getting a really fast guy that can burn. I'm a little nervous about his ability to catch the ball. I'm a little going to put a question mark around that, and that's been a problem. However, with Mahomes putting the ball exactly where it has to be, I feel that Worthy will be able to get it open. I feel that Mahomes will be happy to have another speedster back. The Raiders, B, I drop them down to a B-. I feel that they were a B team. However, that taking Brock Bowers, I'm a little confused with. We'll see how things go. Mel Kiper went with a C+ for the Broncos. And I agree again that Bo Nix pick was a little questionable. Otherwise, they made some relatively good picks. The Texans, Mel Kiper gave them a B+. I'm going with the A-. I just really liked what the Texans did. They traded back because they knew that they're really confident with the guys that they've got. And they just dropped back because they didn't need the bigger end guys and they wanted some extra cap in the future, or for now to get some guys just later because they knew they could wait to get their man. I like Cade Stover out of Ohio State, another tight end, just to add some assistance to this offense, going out, getting Lassiter out of Georgia, the cornerback, getting Blake Fisher, an offensive tackle, and a good one at that. Just some really good picks. The Colts, I agree with the B given by Mel Kiper. And then the Jaguars, B-, and the Titans, a C+ for Mel Kiper. I went with a C+ for both of them. Jaguars confused with that Bryden Thomas Jr. pick. I wonder if they could have traded down if there were offers there. Bryden Thomas Jr. probably would have been available, most likely, if they had traded back to an early second round or later in that first. Most likely would have been there, I feel. And the Titans, just questionable. I like J.C. Latham, but a little confused on some of the other picks. Steelers gave them an A, agreeing with Mel Keiper. Pretty much AFC North, I completely agree with Mel Keiper. Agree with the A for the Steelers, the B plus for the Ravens, B for the Bengals, and the C plus for the Browns. Closing out here in the AFC North, I feel the Steelers did a really good job. Ravens did a solid job. Bengals did that middle of the road job, and the Browns, I don't really feel like they did much of anything in this draft. They were just kind of there, and they just kind of took guys. They didn't really dot their I's. They kind of missed the dot, and they kind of crossed the T so low that it looks like they're just underlining the L. So we'll see how things go with all these picks. It's always a question. Nothing's guaranteed whether the first or the last pick, how good they're going to play. But some skepticism based off of their college performance. So those are my grades and my thoughts on the NFL draft. This was another episode of Max and Mike. I hope you all enjoyed and have a great day. Take care and goodbye.